Hi there, I'm Katy Rose and welcome to the Rooted Reinvention, a podcast exploring the real-world journey of reinventing who we are without burning out or burning our whole life down. I teach people how to make lasting change by melding my Masters of Neuroscience and my Cognitive Therapy qualification with common self-help tools, spiritual concepts, and my personal experience. Because being yourself doesn't need to feel so damn hard. To get more information on podcast episodes, please visit rootedreinvention.com/podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending when you're listening to this. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the phrase, I'll be ready when... ... And the reason why I want to talk about this is at the weekend, had a conversation with someone who's writing their book, and we ended up having quite a deep discussion of the sense of what order to do things in, how to prioritize tasks, and I guess almost the kind of impact of how what we do affects our perception of who we are. So, I've previously mentioned that I'm working on a non-fiction book, and this person has actually published a book recently and is working on the next one, essentially, just to kind of give the background. And there's that sense, particularly when you're writing non-fiction or anything that draws upon your own personal experience, so that might be memoir, it might be that you're writing a self-help guide, it might be that you're sharing experiences you've had, or anything where you're kind of sharing your opinion on other things. There's a sense of when is the right time to do this. Now, I've seen this in my coaching pretty much always, very consistently, the idea of what if this isn't the right path? What if I make this decision and it's the wrong decision? What if I do this now and I mess it up? And the idea that we need to have the correct information, we want to make the right decision, we want to be as prepared as we can be, we want to be as ready as we can be, we want to know everything we need to know in order to complete this task. And I'm guilty of that too. I started outlining this book in 2011. It's now 2021 and I only started writing it a month ago. So there's definitely that, I'll be ready when I've got this qualification, when I've finished this experience, when I've completed this task, when I'm qualified. There's this kind of idea about when I'm qualified. And I think we all get this, whether you're talking about an official qualification from university or whether you're just talking about, I'm not qualified to talk about this because I haven't experienced enough, I haven't researched it enough, I don't know everything there is to know on this subject. And we ended up having quite a good discussion that I guess I wanted to share some of the key points of, because I think we all do this. I think we all have this, oh yeah, I'll do that when I'm ready and I'll be ready when I've done this. I know this shows up for me as I don't want to start this too early because I don't want to mess up the opportunity. So even when I've been talking to my own life coach, I'll say something like, well, I could reach out to this person, but I don't want to burn the bridge. I don't want to waste the opportunity if I do it wrong this time, or I don't have enough information, or I don't quite come across how I want to come across. Then there's this sense that I can't ever try again. There's this sense that every opportunity is the only opportunity. And I think that's something that, again, I've heard a lot. I don't think I'm alone in that one. And I feel like I know on a soul level and an intellectual level that we don't really burn bridges. If I apply for something or I say yes to an opportunity and it doesn't quite go perfectly, chances are in some way or another, maybe not in that exact same scenario, but in some way or other, I'm going to be able to try that again. So whether that's even a job interview and you just have to wait for the next round to come around, the next job to come up. Maybe it's a yearly thing and you have to wait for the next year. or it's reaching out to, can I go on your podcast? Can I come on your TV show? Can I come pitch my book to you? Can I submit my manuscript? I'd like to have my art in your art gallery. Like, whatever these decisions are that we feel like, oh, am I ready to do this? There's usually another option if it doesn't go the way we want. So if they say no, very rarely do they say no and never ask me again. And even on those occasions where there is something like that, so certainly with when I've submitted my novels, they've sort of said, they don't said it, but there's that idea that if you're not invited to resubmit, then don't resubmit, basically. If they say, oh, I look forward to any other work that you've got, then they don't want to see that piece of work that you've just shown them again. That doesn't mean that you can't submit it to another agent or a different person within that company, perhaps 3 years later when you've completely reworked the story. And I think the main problem with the "I'll be ready when" phrase is the idea that what you're telling yourself is that you're not enough in this moment, which in itself is a flawed thought, in my opinion, which we don't have time to go all the way into today. But the idea that you're almost believing and telling yourself that you're not good enough for something that you've decided to do, that you've got your heart set on, that you've been offered, then there's clearly some part of you that feels enough, because otherwise you wouldn't have sort of jumped at the opportunity. But there's also that idea that you will be ready, or readier, or more ready. You will be more readier. Let's go with it. In the future. And I think this is one of the things that certainly when I was studying at uni, there was this sense of, oh, I can't start this essay because I don't have all the knowledge yet. I don't, it's not going to be good enough what I write today because I haven't done enough research. And then it would get to 2 days before the deadline and I would write it anyway, not having done any more research than a week ago when I told myself that I wasn't ready. And although my entire journey through pretty much life has been with this idea of potential and that I can potentially be anything, I could potentially be better than I am now, I've reinvented myself more times than I can count, and that is just my natural presentation. That's just how my brain works. It's how I think. Whenever I've not been able to do something, I've always said, oh, I'm not ready to do this yet. I'm not someone who says, oh, I can't do this. I just say, oh, I can't do this at this moment. That's just how I naturally am. That's how my personality is. But what that means is that I never quite feel ready to do anything. And again, I think a lot of us are in that boat where every time you don't feel ready, and there is no ready. It's almost a problem that we believe in potential in these scenarios. That do you really think you're going to know more in 6 months' time? Do you really think you're going to be more qualified when you've read one more book, when you've already read 38 books? Do you really believe in your core that you can't do at least a decent job? Maybe not perfect, because none of us are, but like a decent enough job to meet this opportunity. So thinking about whatever opportunities, events, decisions come up for you in the next week, there is no right path, there is no wrong path. I've spoken before about how if you're supposed to be heading north and you have 2 choices ahead of you, there's a big mountain in front of you and your 2 choices are to go northeast or northwest, you're still heading north. Like if you take, either one you take isn't wrong. If you head south, then yeah, maybe we need to look at that. But if you're heading east or west because you want to go north to go around something, to make your way on a particular path, that's not the wrong decision. That will never be the wrong decision. I feel like whatever choices we make, if we're making them kind of integrity with ourselves, we're never going to pick the choice that is south, unless we're meant to be going south. So the next time you're faced with a decision, the next time that you hear yourself say, oh, I'm not ready for this, or just don't feel ready for this, or oh, I'll be ready when I X, Y, Z, I'm just asking you to pause and consider, what if I'm ready now? Or you could even flip it on its head and say, what if I will never be more ready than now? What will this look like? I went on my first podcast nearly 2 years ago, and I can definitely listen back and think, oh, I wouldn't have worded it like that. Oh, I wasn't very clear on that bit. There is no wrong answer in sharing who you are right now, in the moment, at an opportunity that is being presented. Those people asked me to come on their podcast and speak, and I did. And they seemed happy with it. And looking back, yes, as I say, I can definitely see things that I might want to tweak if I were doing it tomorrow. But I wasn't wrong in the way I did it. I was as ready as I needed to be to meet that opportunity where it was and to have a positive outcome from it. And at the end of the day, I think that when we have this fear of not being ready, that's the only bit that matters. If you're meeting the criteria of what's being asked of you, at least to some level, again, you're never going to be perfect, you're never going to know it all. But if they say, oh, hey, can you speak on X? And you go and you speak on X, whether you miss bits out, whether you have to start again because you mess up your sentence, whether you forget what you're saying and have to start again, whether, I don't know, no matter what happens, you are ready for whatever life throws at you. And at its core, that's the belief that I want to share. We are all so much more capable than we believe we are. We are not taught to trust ourselves and to access the skills that we have in terms of challenging those negative thoughts and pushing through those fears, but with love and compassion instead of yelling at them. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you are all well, and I will speak to you again next week. Bye. Thanks for listening, and as always, you can find out more at RootedReinvention.com. Take care, remember you are more capable than you often realise, and I'll see you next time. Bye.